Welcome to this video where we will explore how antagonist potency is quantified using IC₅₀ and how functional inhibition is visualized through concentration-response relationships. Antagonist potency describes how much of an antagonist is required to inhibit a biological response. Antagonists do not produce a response on their own, but instead reduce the effect of an activating stimulus within a biological system. Much like a fire extinguisher reducing flames started by a lightning strike. In practice, antagonist potency is quantified as the concentration needed to reduce a measured response by a set amount, most commonly 50%. Giving rise to the term IC₅₀. A more potent antagonist achieves this level of inhibition at lower concentrations. In pharmacology, IC₅₀ describes the concentration of an antagonist that produces a 50% reduction in a measured response within a specific experimental system. Antagonists can act at a range of biological targets, including receptors, enzymes, ion channels, transporters, intracellular signaling proteins, and transcription factors. The response used to quantify inhibition can vary widely. It may be a whole organ output, such as muscle contraction, heart rate, or blood pressure, a cellular property, such as membrane potential, ion flux, or proliferation, or a molecular measure, such as secretion, metabolic activity, or gene expression. Although the type of response may change, IC₅₀ is defined consistently as the concentration of antagonist that reduces the measured response by 50% under the conditions of the assay. IC₅₀ is determined experimentally by measuring how an antagonist reduces a defined biological response. Here we will use an agonist-evoked response as a representative example. The first step is to establish a reference response to the agonist on its own before introducing any antagonist. This involves constructing a full agonist concentration response curve using a suitable measurable output. Next, a single agonist concentration is selected that produces a stable response. It's best to choose a high submaximal level of activation, typically near the top of the curve, around 80% of the maximum, so that reductions in response can be detected clearly. The stability of this response must then be checked by repeating the measurement over time. This ensures that any subsequent decrease reflects the action of the antagonist rather than experimental variability. In this way, a consistent reference or control response is established against which antagonist potency can be assessed. We are now ready to introduce the antagonist. This graph shows the amplitude of the agonist response plotted against time, as the same agonist concentration is applied repeatedly at regular intervals. Once a stable control response has been established, the antagonist is added at a low concentration, producing a small reduction in response. As the antagonist concentration is increased stepwise, the response falls further, with each level allowed to stabilize before the next addition. This process is repeated across a range of concentrations, leading to a progressive decline in the response until it is almost completely inhibited. By comparing each response level to the control, the degree of inhibition at each antagonist concentration can be determined. However, the concentration producing 50% inhibition cannot be read directly from this plot, as it lies between two tested concentrations. These data therefore form the basis for constructing an inhibition curve, from which the IC₅₀ can be determined and antagonist potency quantified. The graph has now been cleared to show only the control response and the remaining response at the end of each antagonist addition. The amplitude of each is measured, providing a single value for the control and for each antagonist concentration. These values are then entered into a table. At each antagonist concentration, the corresponding response is recorded, building a data set that shows how the response changes as antagonist levels increase. To allow comparison across conditions, each value is expressed relative to the control. This is calculated as a percentage of the control, which is defined as 100%. As antagonist concentration increases, the percentage response decreases accordingly. These normalized data are what we need to construct an inhibition curve. To determine the IC₅₀, we first convert the antagonist concentrations to logarithmic values. This is done because concentrations typically span several orders of magnitude, and using a log scale spreads the data more evenly and makes the relationship easier to visualize. The logarithm of antagonist concentration forms the x-axis of the inhibition plot. The percentage response relative to control is used for the y-axis. Each pair of values is then plotted, showing how the response changes as concentration increases. Straight lines can be drawn between the points to visualize the trend. At this stage, a smooth curve could be fitted to the data, but that requires an assumption about the underlying relationship, which we will not consider here. Instead, the IC₅₀ can be estimated directly by interpolating between the points. A line is drawn from 50% response to the plot, and then down to the concentration axis to identify the value that produces 50% inhibition. In this example, that corresponds to approximately -8.1 on the logarithmic scale. Taking the anti-logarithm, this gives a concentration of around 7.9 times 10 to the minus 9 molar, or 7.9 nanomolar. This is the IC₅₀, the concentration required to reduce the response by 50%. IC₅₀ values allow us to compare the potency of different antagonists. Here we compare the curve we have just analysed with a second inhibition curve that is shifted to the right. A higher concentration of the second antagonist is required to reduce the response by 50%, so it is less potent. As curves shift further to the right, potency decreases progressively. The IC₅₀ provides a quantitative measure of this shift. While the original antagonist has an IC₅₀ of around 8 nanomolar, the second antagonist has an IC₅₀ of approximately 60 nanomolar, making it nearly 10 times less potent. This illustrates a key principle. The lower the IC₅₀, the greater the antagonist potency. Although IC₅₀ values are useful, they are often expressed on a logarithmic scale as pIC₅₀. The pIC₅₀ is defined as the negative logarithm of the IC₅₀ expressed in molar units. This is important because IC₅₀ values can be reported in different units, such as nanomolar or micromolar, but the pIC₅₀ must always be calculated from the molar concentration. In this case, because the graph is plotted on a logarithmic molar scale, the x-axis values at 50% inhibition correspond directly to the pIC₅₀ values. The transformation to pIC₅₀ makes it easier to compare concentrations that span several orders of magnitude. It also inverts the scale, so that although the more potent antagonist has a lower IC₅₀, it has a higher pIC₅₀. This leads to a simple rule. The higher the pIC₅₀, the more potent the antagonist. IC₅₀ is a useful and widely used measure of antagonist potency, but it is important to understand its limitations. IC₅₀ is a functional measure. It reflects how much antagonist is required to reduce a biological response under specific experimental conditions. Because of this, it is not a direct measure of binding affinity. The IC₅₀ value depends on several factors. Experimental conditions are important. For example, as these inhibition curves illustrate, the IC₅₀ calculated for an antagonist can vary when it is tested against responses evoked by different concentrations of agonist. IC₅₀ can also be affected by properties of the biological system, such as receptor expression and signal amplification. Consequently, the same antagonist can produce different IC₅₀ values under different conditions. This leads to an important distinction. IC₅₀ is not the same as Kᵢ, which represents the binding affinity of an antagonist for its target. In principle, Kᵢ is an intrinsic property of the ligand-target interaction and is independent of the experimental system. Understanding this difference is essential when interpreting and comparing potency data. Nevertheless, IC₅₀ values are easy to measure and are a very useful indicator of relative potency when antagonists are tested within the same experimental system.